my spooky family. It is Tuesday. You know what that means. If you're new to my channel, my name is Chelsea Ray and I make all kinds of videos. Back in the day, I used to do a few vlogs. I do makeup tutorials, do some paranormal investigations, you name it, I probably do it. Before we start jabbing away, let's just go ahead and jump right into this story. This one I've been wanting to do for a while. On November 12th of 1966 in West Virginia, a group of grave diggers noticed something strange. When they looked up from their work, they seen something huge soar over their heads. It was a massive figure that was moving rapidly from tree to tree. These workers would later describe this figure as a massive brown human being. This was the first possible sighting of, you guessed it, Mothman. Mothman is an elusive creature that remains as mysterious as it did the night a few witnesses laid eyes on it. Just 3 nights after the grave diggers' reports in Point Pleasant, West Virginia, 2 couples noticed a white-winged creature standing about 6 or 7 feet tall, standing right in front of the car they were sitting in. Now, 2 of the witnesses, Roger and Steve, told a local paper that the beast had bright red eyes that were about 6 inches apart, a wingspan of 10 feet, and apparently it avoided the headlights of the car. They said this creature was able to fly at incredible speeds, perhaps as fast as 100 miles per hour. They all said he was a super clumsy runner on the ground. They claimed to know this because it supposedly chased their car to the outskirts of town in the air and then hurriedly ran into a field nearby and disappeared. As strange as this sounded to a local paper in a small community back in the 60s, Roger insisted that this creature was not a figment of his imagination. He stated if it were just him, he would have kept it to himself, but he said there was 4 witnesses who saw it. Reporters were skeptical at first, only referring to Mothman as a bird or a strange creature, but they did end up reporting one witness description saying it was like a man with wings. But more and more sightings were being reported over the next year as this legend of Mothman was taking shape. The Gettysburg Times reported 8 sightings within 3 days of the first sighting. One of these sightings included 2 volunteer firemen who claimed to have seen a giant bird with red eyes. A resident in Salem, West Virginia, claimed to have noticed that strange patterns started to appear on his TV screen one night, along with a strange sound right outside his home. He said he went outside and turned his flashlight towards where the sound had came from, and said he supposedly witnessed 2 large red eyes that resembled bike reflectors staring back at him. This tale of this man actually remains popular to this day because he claims that this beast took his dog that same night. An associate professor of wildlife biology at West Virginia University dismissed these wild tales of a flying monster staking out the town. He says instead, the actual creature they are seeing is a sandhill crane, which can get about as tall as the average man and has bright red flesh around its eyes. This explanation was more believable, especially since everyone explained seeing a bird-like creature. Some believe that this crane that they were saying they could have seen was deformed, especially since most of the sightings came from an area that locals described as the TNT area. The TNT area was a series of bunkers which was used to manufacture military equipment during World War II. Said that it's believed that these bunkers leaked toxic materials into the wildlife preserves, affecting nearby animals. Another theory suggests that the creation of Mothman was just the work of a committed prankster who would hide in the abandoned bunkers where some of the sightings occurred. This theory suggests that whenever the press ran with the Mothman theory, the locals started to panic. because they had started to panic, they became convinced that they were seeing Mothman in local birds and other large wildlife, even long after the prankster gave up on this joke. It's also worth pointing out that Mothman bears a resemblance to some demons that are found in sleep paralysis, which may explain that these visions of Mothman are nothing but an embodiment of typical human fears that are pulled from the unconscious that are depicted on real-life animals when people panic. Then there are the paranormal explanations, which tie together aliens and UFOs. These theories paint the Mothman as a bringer of doom. That puts this legend has roots of whenever a tragedy fell upon Point Pleasant, shortly after Mothman's arrival. On December 15th of 1967, over a year after the first sighting, traffic was bad on Silver Bridge. The bridge was packed with cars, and this placed a strain on the bridge, which was originally built in 1928, when cars were much lighter, meaning that the people who built this bridge were not looking into the future to think that, oh, maybe cars are going to weigh a little bit more. So if one part of this bridge failed, it meant that other parts would soon fail too. And that's exactly what happened. Without warning, a single eye bar at the top of the bridge cracked. The chain snapped and the bridge fell to pieces, throwing cars and pedestrians into the freezing cold water that was below them. 46 people died that day, either of drowning or being crushed by the wreckage. The bridge was the second terrible accident that put Point Pleasant on the map in the year's time that Mothman was first sighted. So it did not take long for some locals to connect the two. In 1975, author John Keel combined the Mothman sightings and the bridge disaster while creating his book, The Mothman Prophecies. His story soon took hold, and Point Pleasant became an iconic place for paranormal fans all over the world. Point Pleasant's fame of being the home of the Mothman eventually diminished over the years until 2002, whenever a film based on Keel's book rekindled the interest into Mothman. In the movie Mothman Prophecies, Richard Gere, of all people, is a reporter whose wife witnesses Mothman shortly before her death. He finds himself in Point Pleasant several years later with no clue of how he got there. And he's not the only one, as several locals experience premonitions of distant disasters. The film offers absolutely no ending, which is why the critics loved it, apparently, because it left an eerie feeling of incompleteness. The idea of the sightings of Mothman leading to disasters led some people to believe there was a connection between the Chernobyl disaster in 1986 and the Mexican swine flu outbreak in 2009 and the Fukushima nuclear disaster in 2011. As for actual sightings of Mothman, they have declined drastically since the 60s. But every so often one emerges. In 2016, a man who had just moved to Point Pleasant saw a mysterious creature jumping from tree to tree. He claimed he was unaware of the local legend until he seen the creature for himself. Whether these sightings are real or fake, Mothman can still be seen in Point Pleasant today. But of course, only in the form of a historical museum, and also in the form of a 12-foot chrome statue with massive steel wings and red ruby eyes. Furthermore, a festival is held every year in September to commemorate the actual Mothman sightings. This is supposed to be a fun celebration that is supposed to attract locals and tourists from all over the world to celebrate one of America's strangest legends that still has people like me scratching their heads every day. And there you guys have it. But let me know what you guys think of Mothman. Do you believe in him? Do you have any stories about Mothman? I hope you enjoyed this paranormal mystery. Make sure that you like and subscribe and hit that little bell button right there, wherever it is. Just make sure you give that little bell button a tickle so that way you can be notified whenever I upload a video each week. I plan on being around for a little while. My mental health is actually at a very, very good spot lately, as you can tell. I've been glowing. But until next time, you guys, be you, love yourself, and stay spooky. And I will see you next time. Bye!